Hello, greetings, and warm welcome to Me Too Personal Development Insights with Subira. Here we share insights on personal development because we are passionate about helping you to meet yourself. We have come to the realization that truly in this life, things that really matter, things that count, things that are important, anything that is worth it always comes hidden. It is the way God designed life and we cannot change it. The Bible says it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it's the glory of you and me to search them out. One of the matters you need to search out in this life is actually yourself. So you have to recognize the fact that you are hidden. And at Me Too, our biggest concern is to contribute to the well being of nations, organizations, and families. But we have come to realize one important thing. The only way the quality of life of any nation, any organization, or any family can improve is when the quality of life of the people in there improves. And we've come to realize that the quality of life of the people deeply reflects the quality of the choices that they make. And the quality of the choices that the people make will always reflect their level of self-awareness, how much they know about themselves. And their level of self-awareness depends on the extent of their personal development. The extent of their personal development is only stretched to the extent or the degree to which they expose themselves to personal development insights. That's why at Me Too, we remain committed to bringing personal development insights so that we keep stretching your personal development level. To take you through these insights, I am your host, Subira Kaunda. Today I want to focus on the subject that I have titled The Ideal Environment for Your Personal Development. The ideal environment for your personal development. I have come to realize that what matters the most in this life for anything to become what it was designed to become is actually the environment in which that thing is placed. Ultimately, what will determine whether the seed will go on to become the tree and eventually bear the fruits that were contained in that particular seed is the environment in which that seed will be placed. What would determine whether the semen will ultimately go on and fertilize the egg and become the baby that one day this world will receive and will come as a newly born baby is the environment in which the semen is deposited. What would determine whether the lion will become the king of the jungle or a friend of humans is the environment in which this particular lion grows up in. And ultimately, what would determine whether you will become what you were designed to become by your creator or not is the environment that you keep. So environment is key. Environment is essential to destiny. You cannot downplay the power of environment. So today I want to zero in on the power of environment, and I want to reveal some truths about environment so that from now onwards you will be very mindful of the environment that you keep, because it doesn't matter how powerful you are, it doesn't matter how blessed or how gifted you are. If the environment that you keep is toxic, your destiny is at the mercy of your environment. And so to dive into this subject, I want to share with you the three potential or possible effects that any environment is likely to cause on you. The three possible effects that environments pose on living creatures, including human beings. Now, the first effect that I want to discuss with you is what I call the conditioning effect of environment. The conditioning effect of environment. Any environment that you subject yourself to for a prolonged period of time begins to condition you to think in a certain way. We as living creatures, and not just human beings, but even animals, we are conditionable. we become conditioned by the environment that we stay in for a prolonged period of time. And when that status is attained, once you become conditioned by the environment, guess what? Moving you from that environment physically is not a solution, because wherever you are taken, you actually go with the environment in you. No wonder they say that it is one thing to move you from one environment to the other, but it is another thing to remove the environment from you. Why? Because at that point, the environment has conditioned you. It has become a part of you. You think in a certain way that was sold to you by that particular environment. Now, I learned the power of conditioning that comes from environment when I got married to my wife. We traveled for our honeymoon to the southern part of our country, and to be specific, the town is called Livingstone. The honeymoon was nice. We had the privilege of going on a safari and wildlife. We had the opportunity to view certain animals. At least I remember I had the chance to see the rhino. I had the opportunity to see the elephants. I had the opportunity to see the giraffe, the zebra, and the impalas. But I remember that day that I wasn't so fulfilled with my wildlife experience. I went to the tour guide because there is one animal that I was so looking forward to meeting that I didn't meet. And this animal is the one we call the king of the jungle. I went to the tour guide. I said, I've had the opportunity to see all these animals, but guess what? I haven't seen the king of the jungle, the lion. Help me, where can we find the lion? And the tour guide was kind enough to show us where to go and find the lion. So we were sent to this farm. It is called the Big Five, an amazing farm. And they call it the Big Five because at that particular farm, they have managed to assemble the 5 big animals. So the following day, my wife and I went and we appeared at the Big Five, and we found queues of people. A queue of people who wanted to see elephants, others wanted to see the cheetah, but we wanted to see the lion. So we joined the queue of people who wanted to see the lion, the king of the jungle. And we paid for this particular opportunity, this particular encounter. And when we paid, we joined the queue of people who were going to see the lion. And it was amazing. I was excited. I couldn't wait. And just from afar, I saw the cage where the lions were kept. And I saw big lions. It wasn't one, there were quite a number in the cage where they were kept. And I saw the tour guide rush into the cage. And for me, I was so happy just to see the lions from afar. But the tour guide kept getting closer and closer to the cage. And what shocked me, he finally reached the gate to the cage. And guess what? He unlocked the cage. And he opened the door, the gate. And I was afraid. I paused, I stood. But then he did something strange. He entered the cage where there are lions. And to make matters worse, he invited us to join him in the cage. I was like, my God, what is this man doing? He said, no, come in, join us. Finally, I saw the rest of the team joining, so I gathered the courage and I followed, and we entered this cage. And he locked the cage. And he began to play with the lion's hair, and he started to give us some instructions about the lions. But at that point, for me, I was a bit disturbed because I was wondering what is going on here. I tried to flip my eyelids because I was thinking maybe I'm dreaming. But upon trying to flip my eyes, I realized this is not a dream, this is reality. Are we in heaven? How come we are playing with lions? I turned to the tour guide and I asked him, tell me something. What have you done to the lions? I want to know. Have you removed their teeth? Then he got one of the lions, he opened the mouth, and everything in the mouth was intact. I said, what have you done? He got the foot, and that day I realized that truly the feet of lions can really grow big, like this big. He grabbed one of the lion's foot and he pulled out the claws. It's on that day that I realized that lions actually have very long claws. In fact, when the claws of a lion reach your body, trust me, you can die just from bleeding. When it injures you with its claws, you die just from bleeding. I saw the claws of the lion. And fortunate enough, whilst we were in the cage, one of them actually made that sound that we call the lion's roar. When the lion roar, I heard that sound myself. It's a deep sound that scares all the animals in the jungle. Truly, it's deep. They say that that sound can be heard many kilometers from where the lion is making the sound. So I got puzzled and I asked the tour guide, what have you done to these lions? Because it seems to me they have everything it takes to be a lion. They have the teeth, they have the claws, they are able to make the sound, they are able to roar. But what have you done to the lions? Maybe you have injected them. That's the question I asked him. Then he said, no, we haven't injected them. Then I asked him, okay, now tell me, what have you done to the king of the jungle? That you have turned him from the king of the jungle to a friend of humans. Then he turned to me and said, my brother, what you are witnessing here is what we call the power of environment. The power of environment. At that point, I got interested. I said, explain to me, what do you mean, the power of environment? And he said, here is what we do. The same way you keep human beings, the same way you keep dogs, we start these lions from the time they are very young. We take them from the time they are babies. And when we take them as babies, we introduce them to milk. We keep giving them milk and we keep visiting them. They get used to meeting people playing with them, feeding them milk. And we continue feeding them milk until when they grow a bit older, we introduce them to solid food. And he actually told us that actually right now, every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, we give them meat. And I was shocked to find out how expensive it is to keep lions. At that particular farm, he mentioned that per month they buy 300 tons, not kg, tons of meat from the butchery to feed lions. So he said, even to now, we feed them with solid food and we visit them. So when we do that continuously, we pick them from the time they are young, we introduce them to food, to milk, then we keep visiting them, and then we introduce them to solid food. When that happens for a prolonged period of time, that environment will reach the lions to a point where they will forget who they are. They will lose their identity. They will think they are friends of humans. So he told me, so these lions you see, my brother, have lost what it means to be a lion. They have forgotten. They have lost their identity. And he said that maybe if they went to the jungle and met fellow lions, maybe there they will be reminded of what it truly means to be a lion. But as it is, they have forgotten. They have been conditioned to think otherwise. At that point, everything in my body came to a standstill because I realized the conditioning power of environment. That a lion who was designed to be the king of the jungle has been turned into a friend of humans. And guess what? What shocked me the most is this. Those lions have everything it takes to be a lion. Everything. They don't lack any feature. The only thing about them is that their mindset has been twisted to think they are not lions. In other words, even though they possess every feature that it takes to be a lion, their mindset tells them otherwise. And as a result, they do not behave according to lions. Their identity has been mistaken. They have lost their identity. They've forgotten what it means to be a lion. I guess that's what has happened to many of God's children. Even you who's listening to me right now, you have everything it takes to be a child of God, created in the image of God and in the likeness of God. But maybe the environment you've been brought up in has conditioned you to think otherwise. But you possess everything it takes to dominate here on earth. But you are not dominating because your mindset has been twisted by the environment that you have been brought up in. So the conditioning power of environment is one effect you need to look for in studying environment. So make sure that whatever environment you are in, you should ask yourself this question. If I was to be conditioned by this environment that I'm in, would I be proud of the conditioning that I would get from this environment? If not, that's an environment to run away from. Because any environment that conditions you to think something that is different from who you truly are and who you were designed to be is not an environment conducive for you. The second possible effect that environments do pose on living creatures, including human beings, is the destructive or distraction effect. Listen to me. Some environments are so dangerous, no matter how powerful what you are carrying is, they can destroy. That's why I learned this when I encountered the story in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 2 verses 13 to 15, where even though Joseph and Mary were privileged to carry the child of God, Jesus himself. Now, what a powerful gift to carry. I mean, if you are carrying Jesus, can you be scared of anything? But guess what? Even though they were carrying this baby Jesus, such a blessing, God himself sent angels to Joseph in his dream to warn him about the environment. And guess what? It's God who told him actually to run away from that environment called Bethlehem. He told him, you and your family, pack your bags and run away, run to Egypt, because at the moment, the environment has become so dangerous, it will destroy what you're carrying. Trust me, no matter how powerful your idea is, no matter how powerful you think you are, environment that is negative is so powerful it can destroy or abort your dream. So in any environment you're found in, ask yourself this question. This environment, does it carry the destructive effect in it? If that's the answer, then run away from that environment. Environment can destroy your dream, no matter how powerful your dream is. That's why I tell you the truth. A lot of people, even those of you who are listening to me right now, had it not been for that environment you joined in high school, had it not been for that group, that gang of wrong friends that you joined, today you would not have tasted weed. Had it not been for that wrong crowd you joined in high school, in university, today you would not have tasted adultery. You would not have been struggling with pornography. A lot of bad vices have come to realize we are introduced to people who, in the groups that they joined at a particular point in their lives, that environment introduced you to bad vices. Today, you are struggling with addiction. So always check the environment that I'm placing myself in. What effects does it have? If it has destructive effects, I tell you the truth, if Joseph, who was carrying Jesus, could be instructed to leave the town by God, even you, no matter how powerful you are, leave that crowd that has the potential to introduce you to bad vices. But the third possible effect that environment poses on living creatures is the fertilizing effect. Listen to me. Even your growth requires a certain environment that will fertilize what is in you. There's a story in Luke chapter 1, verses 41, where Elizabeth, who was pregnant, was visited by Mary when she got pregnant with Jesus. And guess what? The Bible records that when Mary just greeted Elizabeth, guess what? Upon the greeting reaching the ears of Elizabeth, something in her womb happened. The baby leaped. There are certain environments that when you encounter people in those environments, what is in you begins to leap for joy. The dreams in you begin to come alive. There are certain environments that you need to associate yourself with in order for the vision and the dream in you to be fertilized. Otherwise, it's impossible for the seed to become the tree and bear the fruit if it is placed in the environment. It is impossible for you to become and meet yourself if the environment you keep yourself in is a destructive one. So look for the fertilizing effect in the environment. The environment that has the potential to fertilize your dream is the environment you must strive for, is the environment you must keep. 3 possible effects that I've talked about that come from environment: the conditioning effect, the distraction effect, and the fertilizing effect. Now, listen, at Me2, we are concerned about helping you meet yourself. But there are 3 major self-concepts that we teach at Me2 that I would like to talk about that you need to safeguard. Because any environment that is good or bad will target these 3 self-concepts. So these 3 self-concepts that you must watch out for and guard are: number 1, watch out for your self-image. Self-image. For you to meet yourself, You need to reach a level in life where you become so clear about the 3 self-concepts in your life. Self-concept number 1 is your self-image. Self-image refers to how you see yourself. Did you know that there's a way you see yourself? All of us have a way we see ourselves. But here's the unfortunate part. For most people, maybe even you who's watching me right now, the danger is the way you see yourself, for most people I've discovered, is really affected by how you think other people see you. That's why people change colors like chameleon, because they feel there's a way their family sees them. So when they reach their family, they start to behave in line with how they think their family sees them. There's a way they feel the church people see them. So when they reach church, they change color and start behaving according to how they think the church sees them. There's the way they think their peers see them. So when they reach their peers, they change to suit the image they think their peers have about them. There's a way you see yourself, and trust me, a lot of people's self-image is not independent. Their self-image is affected by how other people think or by how they think other people see them. But here is the message for you. Develop an independent image of yourself. Do not let other people's opinions shape your self-image. Do not let other bad environments shape your self-image. How you see yourself is very important, because it leads me to the second self-concept, which is your self-esteem. Self-esteem is not the same as self-image. Self-esteem now refers to how you feel about yourself. Now listen, how you see yourself matters, because ultimately it affects how you feel about yourself. Right now, as you are listening to me, there's a way you are feeling about yourself. Some of you are probably living in sin. You feel so bad. You feel condemned. The way you feel about yourself is affected. Some of you, you've done some terrible things and they've affected you. In other words, we were all designed to have our self-esteem affected by much of what we do. I want you to know that how you see yourself is connected to how you feel about yourself, and these two are important, because if you correct your self-image, it will affect your self-esteem. You begin to feel positive about yourself, and that's a very important feeling. Here is the other problem I've seen with people's self-esteem. It is mostly they've allowed it to be affected by external factors. That's why sometimes when you dress well, have you noticed what happens to your confidence levels? You feel good. There's a certain confidence in your step when you dress well. Your dress code has the ability to affect how you feel about yourself. But the problem is, the moment you don't dress like that, you don't feel that confident. But I want to talk to you, coming from me, to it's possible for you to protect your self-esteem, that you feel good about yourself all the time. That feeling is important because it determines the confidence you walk into rooms with. So make sure that you safeguard your self-image and your self-esteem. And this leads me to the third self-concept which you need to safeguard, and that is your self-worth. Your self-worth is different. Your self-worth refers to how valuable you think you are. And this is a tough one. If you've had the opportunity to be found in interviews, job interviews, where people are being questioned, I can guarantee you this. The question of salary expectation never misses out on the interview. That question is a test of your self-worth. When they ask you, how much is your salary expectation? What the company wants is to see where you place yourself in terms of worth. Because they want to hear how valuable you think you are. The value you place on yourself will be read in the figure you give the company. Now that question is important because the company wants to know, because they want to know the person they are hiring, if at all this person places value on themselves. But they also want to know if at all when they hire you, you will fit in their budget. But the most important thing is that question of salary truly tests how valuable you think you are. And you'll see how people struggle to answer this question. You'll see people go like, no, whatever the company has prepared for me, I can't say much, whatever. It tells us how much you degrade yourself. Your self-worth is compromised. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, you know what belongs to you. You are able to tell even figuratively, that for me, if you're going to pick me, I belong in this particular category. So self-worth is how valuable you think you are. So 3 self-concepts that you need to safeguard: your self-esteem, which is how you see yourself. Don't let other people determine how you see yourself. Secondly, your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself. Again, don't let external factors affect how you feel about yourself. And thirdly, your self-worth, how valuable you are. Now, these 3 concepts will all be affected by the environment you need to keep. Now, remember, the topic for today is the ideal environment. So let me wrap up this episode by now guiding you into identifying the environment that is ideal for your personal development. Every living creature was designed to live in a particular environment. Trust me when I tell you, it's not every environment that is good for you. But how do you determine what your ideal environment is? Here is the answer. The ideal environment for every living creature is determined by its source. The environment that sourced you is the environment you need to keep in order to be sustained. All living creatures are sustained by the environment that sourced them. Guess what? When God was creating fish, he spoke to the waters and he said, let the waters team up with living creatures. It's at that point that fish was created. So fish came from water. No matter what you do, you cannot divorce fish and water. Fish and water are inseparable. Why? Because water is the ideal environment for fish. Fish can never become what it was designed to become if it is not in the water. For vegetation to be created, God spoke to the land. You cannot separate vegetation and land. But for you and I to be created, here's the good news. God spoke to himself. Therefore, the ideal environment for you to become, all you are designed to be, is the presence of God. And trust me, no matter how much money you are making, if you are not in the presence of God, you are not safe. I know what I'm talking about. No living creature can make it outside its ideal environment. For you and I, in the presence of God, it is a compulsory environment. In there, you will blossom into what you were designed to be. And when we say we want to help you meet yourself, we can only meet you if you first of all place yourself in this ideal environment. Like a seed, you begin to blossom and become the person that you are designed to be. That's why the Bible says even creation awaits your manifestation. So make sure you look for your ideal environment, and your ideal environment is the presence of God, because it sourced you, it will sustain you. There is no other environment that is good for what you are carrying. Thank you so much for following this particular episode. The ideal environment for your personal development. Any other environment will turn you into something else. No matter how much people clap for you, it's possible to be a failure before your own creator. But at Me Too, we want you to achieve genuine success that will make you a success both here on earth and in the heavenly realms. Thank you so much. I was your host, Subira Kaunda, that took you through this episode. And I'm so happy that we are moving together in these episodes. Let's help you to meet yourself. Shalom, shalom. God bless you.